Hey everyone, this podcast is part of Story Mode, the podcast network of Gamefully Unemployed. You can support us and gain access to other great exclusive podcasts at patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. That's patreon.com/GAMEFULLY unemployed, which is spelled like it sounds.
So sorry.
Yeah.
Hi.
Hello everyone.
Hi. My name is David Bell.
My name is Tom Ryman.
And we just watched Spiral.
From the
Book of Saw. Yeah.
Jigsaw copycat.
This is gonna go sideways fast.
All available units, officer down. That was just a diversion to get us out of the precinct. I need everyone on this case. He could be anywhere. He could be anyone. We're gonna tear this city apart.
Why not?
Sure. No, I feel like we've been waiting to watch this movie for like 15 years, so.
Yeah. Well, this is the second in a row rejuvenation of the franchise.
Yes.
That I forgot about that. It's also the same writers as the first rejuvenation of the franchise. That is Jigsaw. After Saw 3D, they were like, we're done. And unless we have a real good idea. And then they made Jigsaw, which I didn't see, but it got terrible reviews.
It was also many years later, right? It was like
2017.
Okay, so 7 years, I think, after the last one.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then this was apparently I was looking into it. I guess Chris Rock was hanging out with one of the producers at a party. Oh no, he at a friend's wedding, he ran into the vice chairman of Lionsgate. And he was like, "Yeah, I kind of want to do a horror thing, and I like Saw." And so then they got writers on it, and this was yet another rejuvenation of the series. That's now on streaming.
It is,
theaters.
yeah. It's in theater. It's been in theaters for 2 or 3 weeks. It's now it hit VOD last week, so
yeah. And I guess that brings us to the question.
Yeah,
Tom, what did you think of Spiral?
I liked it.
All right. I mean, I thought it was fine.
Yeah.
I'm not a big Saw fan.
Neither am I.
Okay. So I guess I want to start there, which is it feels like every Saw movie, like almost like part of the franchise, needs a twist at the end. Is it fair to say? Like they all want to be like, but wait.
Yes, there's always some kind of twist. The first movie I think is pretty good. I rewatched it recently. Of course, it's James Wan and Lee Whannell's debut film, so there's like a certain like level of quality there. But the first Saw is pretty interesting in terms of like a psychological thriller / mystery, and then Saw 2 kind of pushed further along, more close in that direction, where it's like the twist at the end felt more earned and relevant. And that's part of the problem of the later Saw sequels is in their quest to have every movie have like this mind-blowing twist, it kept getting more and more absurd, and the mythology kept getting more and more absurd to sort of support those twists.
Right.
I think this one still has a twist, but it's closer to the way it was handled, I think, in the earlier parts of the series, where it's like it's relevant to the entire story, it's relevant to the main character, and it feels earned. It was obvious, like I guessed it pretty soon.
Which, all right, well, spoilers.
Yeah, we are going to spoil this movie. We always do, but you guys know that.
But this is a movie that's known for twists, so that's why I say it.
I would recommend, if you had any interest at all in watching it, go ahead and watch it.
Yeah, if you're a fan of Saw, I suspect fans of Saw are gonna fucking love this movie.
It's in terms of like a Saw movie, it's pretty great.
I think in the Saw franchise, it's a great film. Chris Rock's good in it.
He is.
I found the ending funny. I laughed. The twist, yeah. When did you figure out the twist? Because it is very obvious. The twist being who the killer is.
Who the killer is, yeah. Because it's a this movie is closer to Seven than it is to Saw, really.
They're really trying to Seven us.
Yeah, and the Saw has always been Seven adjacent.
Yes.
More so in the earlier ones, because it's more about a mystery.
Yeah. And I also like the first Saw a lot. And I saw the second one, and after the second one, I was like, I don't think I have to see any more of these.
I still enjoy the second one. It's not as good as the first one, and I believe it was written as a different movie first, and then they kind of worked it into a Saw sequel. But it's more aligned with the tone of that first film, and I think more with this film too than the rest of the movies got, because they're. Saw 3 and on is dog shit.
Yeah. I mean, I have a soft spot because as someone who really enjoys every Final Destination film, I understand the core reason someone might like Saw.
They're not fun, though. That's my issue with Saw. Is I tried to do a marathon watch of them last Halloween because they put out this box set that was real cheap. Well, it's not a box set. Anyway, I had a collection that was cheap. I had not seen most of them because I gave up on the series pretty early too.
Right.
They're not fun. They're not fun in the way that Final Destination knows it's fun. Saw is not trying to be fun.
Yeah, and that is the part I don't understand, which is that I get why most horror franchises people like them. Friday the 13th, obviously, Nightmare on Elm Street, the franchises. You want to see the murders. It's funny, it's fun, it's cheesy. Saw, that was kind of what it was, is that I didn't like watching people get hurt. I didn't find it scary. It's kind of like Hostel, but I would say Hostel is actually more fun.
I think Hostel's more effective too, because another problem the Saw series had as it progresses, you just don't give a shit about anyone. So it's like, no, I don't care. Like, this person is just a prop to be mutilated, and I don't. Exactly. I'm not into that. I don't think
there's nothing scary about wincing. Like, no, that's the thing. It's just like, oh, that person's getting hurt.
It's gruesome.
I don't like that.
Yeah, I understand part of the appeal. I saw, for me, like similar to Final Destination, the deaths in Final Destination are fun to watch unfold because there are all these crazy Rube Goldberg machines. The thing I like about Saw is seeing what the different traps are, not necessarily seeing the people getting eaten up by the traps, but that's where the hardcore brainstorming goes when they write these movies. Yes. It's okay, how do we figure out a trap that's thematically related to whatever this person's sin is, and have it unfold in a way that's really brutally gruesome, but also clever, in its mechanism.
Mm-hmm. Here's the problem, though, is that from what I've seen, mm-hmm. they've gotten lazier.
Oh yeah,
because Saw. All right, the first Saw. It's kind of the problem is they also have to introduce what their sin is in the scene.
Yes.
And so it's kind of the payoff needs to be oh, but this one character doesn't realize they're part of this elaborate game. They're getting sevened. The cop investigating, or a person, the way Saw worked. The first one is they had a plot that was showing these two people in the room trying to figure it out. Mm-hmm. And so you get to know them. And then eventually their sins, and it works that way. You know what I mean?
Yes.
There's none of that in there's a little of that in this new one, actually. There is that in this new one. But,
there is, yeah.
What I was getting at is there's the one where the woman wakes up with the thing that's going to crack open her skull.
The bear trap.
And they're the bear trap. And they're the key is in this guy's stomach. You need to kill this person and take it out of their stomach. And that was one where it wasn't you need to do something to yourself. Mm-hmm. You just have to do this. It's like Fear Factor stunts. They sort of stray away from that eventually, and all of the traps in this one, and a lot of the traps I've seen are you need to do something bad to yourself to get out of the trap.
That's most of them.
And that gets kind of boring, to be honest.
A little bit. Because again, they're not fun to marathon and watch.
Yeah. If they started doing more psychological things of oh, you need to tweet a confession or something. I don't know. That's a bad example, but you know what I mean. Where it's you got to do something that's not necessarily let's go through the traps. It's a guy in the subway and he's dangling by his tongue, and they're you need to jump off and rip your tongue off, or you'll get hit by a train.
Mm-hmm.
The second one is a guy with his fingers attached, and they're like, you need to rip your fingers off, or you'll get electrocuted.
Yes.
And then the next one is you have to paralyze yourself, or you get the hot wax on you. And it's like, yeah, it's the same thing every time.
Yes.
And I get really bored with it.
That's fair.
Yeah. And that is like going back, like I understand that people probably think the same thing about like Final Destination, where it's like it's just people dying. Why are you enjoying that? And it's like because the game is different. They have more fun with it.
The game is fun. Yeah, the game in Saw is not fun, but that's not what I liked about this movie. Like I liked the mystery suspense thriller angles, and like the traps to me were just like, okay, this is just how the murder is happening in this movie. That's how I kind of looked at it.
I like to look at it. I like all the actors, but so the moment they find his partner's dead body, I knew he was the villain.
Oh, I knew it at like minute 28.
Oh wow!
It's the
very
scene.
easy.
It's very obvious. It's the scene where they're in the bullpen and he asks to borrow Chris Rock's phone. I'm like, he's the fucking killer.
Right. I guess I missed that scene because when they went back and showed it, I was like, oh, I don't remember that happening.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's such a killer thing to do.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, he's the fucking killer.
Right.
And
when they try to.
Yeah, they do stuff that he calls his young partner. It turns out that Chris Rock's young new partner is the Jigsaw killer, and he calls his partner at his house, and you can hear like a baby crying. I'm like, that's a recording, and then they show you it later, and it's a recording. They find like a piece of his skin around a Jigsaw doll that has like a tattoo he had. I'm like, oh, he tattooed that on the bum they were looking for earlier. Like
that's and it got really obvious because that's the part he finds his skin with the tattoo, and it's a gift that he's given. And then they find him skinned, and they're like, "Oh, it must have been a saw trap." Anyway, moving on. And it's like, but you always show them. You broke your narrative to not show it, and they don't show him dying. And it's like, oh, so he's obviously the killer.
And they start the Jigsaw tape, and it's like Detective Mensch or whatever. I forget what his name was.
Right.
It's like Shank, I think. Because Rock
Shank, it is Shank,
right? Because Rock's name is Banks, so I was like, I just kept thinking about the name. So okay, eventually, like if they were actually like two cops that like were just partnered together, they would eventually be called Shake and Bake.
Ooh, yeah,
because it's like Shank and Banks, and then it's like, all right,
yeah, Shank and Banks.
But it's like a Detective Shank. I want to play a game, and then they don't let it run for long enough so that it's not only that we don't see him in the trap, is we don't even get to hear what his sin is. So it's like, by that point of the movie. Because they reveal that it's him like very shortly after that, so I think they kind of want you to know at that point. But that part
they don't do it that far after. But yeah,
that part was very obvious. Yeah,
because they break their own rules.
Yes.
They set up like this thing, and so I don't know. All in all, I didn't get anything from the mystery of it either, because it was like I kind of I don't know. It's so easy to put it all together. Well, where it was like, oh, he's clearly like the son of this guy, and he's revealing their sins as cops, and like Samuel Jackson's gonna be bad.
Yeah, the mystery of
everything.
It. Well, yeah, the mystery of it is more about. It's less about who the murderer is, and more about like what happened. What are they doing? What is because we get Chris Rock's backstory in a series of flashbacks as the movie progresses. So that's more of the mysteries. We don't know exactly what happened to sour he has a bad reputation in the police department because he ratted out a cop who shot a guy who shot a witness.
Yeah. Those were some sweaty flashbacks, by the way, because they don't, I get like they're necessary and they kind of have to just cram them in the movie. You know what I mean? Like there's no like, rhyme or reason. They'll just have like Chris Rock will stare at the wall for a second and then it's bam, flashback. Well, and the flashback's like kind of relevant and it's kind of weird.
It's relevant to where he is or to what's happening at the time.
Yeah, I mean it has to happen. Also Samuel Jackson's mustache.
Oh, in that one flashback?
In those flashbacks,
breathtaking. Yeah.
Chris Rock with his backwards hat and his like goatee.
And his goatee.
Is very funny. Very funny flashback makeup.
A lot of spirit gum facial hair.
Yeah.
In these flashbacks. All the flashbacks are abrupt, but they are triggered by stuff that's in the environment or like it didn't hit me as being sweaty.
It's just I'd say the movie as a whole is for this reimagining of Saw. I thought something more clever was going to be here. You know what I mean? Because it was like this big deal and it was like, wow, Chris Rock had an idea for a Saw, and it's ultimately just another Saw sequel.
Yeah.
Like, that's what it felt like. It just felt like yet another Saw sequel. There wasn't really anything. I love the exploration of cops. But, like, that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
And, like
Well,
I said,
what were you expecting exactly?
This is why I was saying, if you're a fan of Saw, if you saw the sequels and you're like, I'm into this, you'll love this because it's just a good looking Saw sequel.
And it's also
with Chris Rock, who's great, and Samuel Jackson, who's great. Yeah,
I think it's one of it's definitely, if not it's definitely like one of the best written ones. Like the story was engaging. That's what I liked about it.
I'd say the characters were, because it's Chris Rock doing Tight Five about divorce in between scenes, and I like that. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I was interested in learning about his career history, what happened with this department. Like, this movie interested me, and that's something that no Saw movie has done since like the very first ones.
It just feels like that's really putting the bar real low.
I mean,
because I would say this is just a standard baseline of how movies work. Is like, you're interested in the characters. The mystery is pretty easy to solve. Like, it's that's what I mean, is that much like Jigsaw, where the studio is like, we're not reviving this unless someone has a really good idea. I assumed there was something really good here, really smart.
I think maybe that was the way it's told, the fact that it's about the police, the killer's motivations and goals. I think that all that ping them as being, this is a way we can make Saw relevant again and more topical and more engaging for people. I think they just went at it as, we're going to make a decent Saw movie, and that's what this is.
Right. Yeah, that is what this is.
Yeah.
I guess what I was expecting, and this is not the fault of the movie, is like, okay, so they're reviving Saw, Chris Rock is involved, there seems to be a lot of buzz around it, and someone had a really good idea. This is going to elevate Saw. This is going to bring it to a different level and make it be about something deeper. And it's not really that.
I think it is.
It's socially relevant because it's cops, but it doesn't really say anything by the end.
No,
other
it
than
definitely doesn't. But then again, not really any of the other Saws have.
Exactly, which is why my reaction is just like, so this is just a Saw sequel, and it's a good one. But like, okay, like I didn't like the Saw sequels. I didn't need to watch this. Ultimately, it's not really a judgment on the film. Like, again, it's a really well made film. It's just like, I thought the writing was the plot was kind of weak. Ultimately,
no, I enjoyed the plot. I mean, the murderer was very easy to guess. But I'm also watching for. I don't know how easy it is for other people.
Yeah, I don't know. It's all the movie stuff.
Yeah.
It's if you've watched a lot of movies, yeah. The ending, by the way, love the idea of the ending. I think the execution made me laugh more than anything.
It's very abrupt.
It also is edited in a way that... So, all right, we should take people through it, right?
To the ending?
Yeah, and I guess through... So,
I mean, we don't
Chris Rock is...
Yeah.
Yeah, he's the son of Samuel Jackson, who's the ex-chief. Chris Rock ratted out a fellow cop for doing something horrible, and all the cops are really mad at him. He shot a witness, like point blank at his
in the heart.
The heart at his door.
Fucking murdered this guy.
Yeah, it's funny that Chris Rock seemed to, because he doesn't see it happen.
No,
but he turns him in, and I'm like, I'm not sure. It doesn't matter. It makes enough sense. Because it's revealed that a kid saw the whole thing, and Chris Rock, I assume they used that kid's testimony.
I would assume so.
Yeah. And Chris Rock makes sure the kid doesn't get seen by the other cop.
Correct.
Etc. And so Saw killer starts killing cops. And at the very end, it's revealed that it was his young partner who impossibly got this gig. He's like, you know how hard it was for me to become your partner? And I'm like, yeah. That seems impossible, but okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's whatever. All of these traps are impossible.
Yeah, one of the traps takes place in the basement of the police station. I was like, how did you get this down here?
How did you manage that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, that's the stuff where I'm like, oh, it's just a Saw film. Like, it's not smart. Like, it's like there's no reason that trap could have been put down in the police basement.
No.
Like, that's magic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's magic. They're all the traps are magic. They're impossible to set up, and it's impossible to configure them in a way. It's one of the concessions we make, I think, when we watch a movie like this.
Yeah, I guess. All right, so that I think is what I was expecting, is a oddly grittier Saw. I was expecting a more grounded Saw, where it's like a little less. Like, that's what because Saw, the problem with Saw as a franchise, I think, is escalation, right?
Yeah, because the first one doesn't have these problems really because it's on such a smaller, more contained scale.
Exactly. So I thought they were going to scale it back down, and they don't really do that. And in fact, it's like that wax trap is stupid and weird. But so basically at the end, he is kidnapped by Jigsaw, revealed to be the partner. And the partner's like, you're the only good cop. Team up with me to kill other bad cops, which I don't know why he thinks he'll do that, but whatever. And then Samuel Jackson is being hung like a marionette with blood draining out of him. And this was the weirdest thing, because I was also expecting like a Seven type moment, like a you have to choose. But the choice that he, like, I kept thinking he's going to have to choose between like two characters or something. The thing he's given that was so confusing is Jigsaw gives him a gun with one bullet.
Yeah.
He doesn't tell him about the one bullet until they like walk into the room with his dad. So like at any point Chris Rock could pull the gun on him.
Yeah.
But he waits.
Yeah, because he knows it's the people.
He assumes it's some sort of bullshit.
Right. The people in this universe are well aware of who Jigsaw is and how it operates. And even though this guy's like a copycat, it's like you gotta listen to what he said. That's like the big rule of Jigsaw. It's like, let him finish talking before you do anything.
Let him finish talking.
Because it's some kind of bullshit. And if you jump the gun, you're going to fuck yourself.
Right. So the choice he's given is you can either shoot me or your dad will die.
That's not what he says.
Okay, then explain this to me. It's you shoot me or you shoot this target.
Correct.
And the target will free your father.
What he says is you can either shoot me and we all lose.
Right.
Or you can shoot that target and we win.
Right, and I don't know what that meant or why Chris Rock had so much trouble figuring it out. Because, first of all, he takes forever to shoot that target. And it's like, just, I don't know, shoot the target.
Because he doesn't know what it's going to do.
Yeah, but like shoot the target and then tackle the bad guy. I don't know.
Yeah.
Seemed easy. It actually seemed easy. Or like, I guess shoot him and then get your dad down. It would be harder that way. But you or like, I don't know, restrain him. Like, restrain him and then shoot the thing. If you act quickly enough, it seems like it's a solvable situation.
Sure.
It just seemed, it was like it wasn't like a, and obviously Seven is putting it, it's not a fair comparison, but it wasn't even trying to be one of those.
No,
you know?
it wasn't.
It was just like, shoot this target, and it was like, huh. So like, it's like a carnival game? Like, what a weird ending choice. It doesn't mean anything. It's just like, it felt very lazy.
Well, you have to look at it as a whole, because what ends up happening is he shoots the target and it,
lets him down.
It lets his dad down, but he just ends up getting shot by the police because he has a gun in his hand and he uses these cables to lift him up like a marionette.
And that's the part I wanted to get at.
Yes.
Is that, so the cops then saw through, I get it. And it triggers these wires that sets off a series of cables that relifts Samuel Jackson up, flips out a gun in his hand, and relights the room so that he looks like he's a threat.
Yeah.
That I thought was like, oh, that's a cool idea. The way they edited it, though, is that they have the SWAT team get in, because they needed to have it so that Chris Rock can't warn them in time,
Yes.
Because the problem is Chris Rock is just standing there.
Yeah.
And so they have the SWAT team come in, like, before he's lit, in a way, and it just makes the SWAT team very funny, because it's like, that man is obviously being dangled.
Yeah.
And the SWAT team's like, oh my god, he's got a gun! And it's like, the way they put it all together, it just doesn't quite work, and it made me laugh because it was like, there's no way the SWAT team wouldn't have noticed what was happening in that moment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah.
What I was saying about like why set the trap up that way is the ultimate point is the Jigsaw is trying to show Chris Rock that doing the right thing isn't going to keep you safe from the cops. Like, he's trying to convince Chris Rock that the cops are bad and that they need to be reformed. So,
but he has to puppet a man like a marionette.
It's goofy, but it's thematically like he was the puppet master. They keep showing us this marionette dressed up like the chief of police. It's like they really...
If he had actually used like the racism or like the systematic problems with the cops to have his dad killed, I think that would have been more effective. But he just puppets a man like he's the Joker in Batman, like puppeting the fucking hostages with the guns. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't think it's not particularly clever. I don't think. Or
No, it's not. I'm just explaining what I took away from it.
Right. It only just occurred to me that he's trying to make Chris Rock hate the cops.
Well, yeah.
And it's like, oh, he's not going to hate the cops after that? I don't know.
Well, it's not really... it's...
Or trying to show him that cops can do bad stuff, but Chris Rock knows that.
Yeah, he knows that. And he also wants Chris Rock to watch his dad get shot by the police because that's what he had to do. Like his...
Right.
You mentioned earlier, I forget what the exact context of it was, but it was something about like how a certain aspect of what he was saying didn't quite connect. And it's like, well, you have to... I think you have to give them a little bit of leeway when it's like a bad guy's plan because the bad guy is crazy.
Right.
And he's operating on a sense of logic that is not going to 100% make logical sense because that's not what his goal is.
Right. But
so
isn't the point of Saw that the bad guy in the end is clever? Like that's... I thought the first Saw, I thought they're trying to get that 7 effect. That's why I keep thinking of 7. Because the idea of the end of 7 is like, fuck, you know? It's like, oh shit, he absolutely pulled it off. And that's the ending of Saw, too. It's like, oh shit, this big elaborate plan, he was always one step ahead.
Mm-hmm.
And this just felt silly.
Sure, yeah, no, it doesn't.
It didn't feel clever. And it didn't feel like all these pieces that were intricately like it just like if I had read this script as a producer, I think without Chris Rock involved, I think this script would have been rejected. I think they would have been like, there's nothing special here. Chris Rock is what makes it special. The cast is what makes it special, I feel like.
Mm-hmm.
But the actual script is pretty standard Saw.
Yeah, it's a fresher take on it.
Yeah.
I mean, I was in the middle of a thought.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Shit. I guess my ultimate point is that the mercy he's showing Chris Rock is just that he's not killing him. Like It's not. I don't think it's meant to be anything other than that. And it's like the movie ends at a point where it's like he does the same thing to Rock that Rock did to him when he was a kid, where he shushes him as the elevator closes and he escapes. So it's up in the air as you know, it's kind of up in the air. It's like, okay, well, is he gonna help Jigsaw now, or is he just gonna immediately be like, no, fuck this, turn Jigsaw in, I know who he is? And that's kind of an interesting question because I'm not 100% sure. I feel like I'm like 95% sure that Rock's going to be like, yeah, it's my old partner. He's actually the murderer. Go get him. But by the end of the movie, like he's realizing just how entrenched even the people who were his friends and he trusted, like the guy who gets hit by the train in the beginning is like one of his good friends. Like the new captain, she was a really good friend of his dad. So it's like he's so mired in this system that is fucked and just abuses people. And even when he does the right thing, he's a pariah for it. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. It's not a particularly clever exploration of it, but that's it.
Yeah, I think it could have been executed better.
For sure. The ending didn't land as it should have, for sure.
Yeah, I think if he was brought to a point where where he was like really, really upset about his death. Like, if they did something, I'm just throwing out ideas here, obviously. If, like, they did something where it's like, oh, he's not getting divorced, like, oh, his wife and kid was killed or something. And then they set it up where at the end, oh, turns out the corruption of the cops and your dad is what resulted in that. You know what I mean?
I don't even
Like,
think
if they
I don't think it needs to be that severe. Even I mean,
No,
they
but
showed us a
I
bunch
think-
like him getting shot.
Yes, but that was stuff he already knew about.
Yeah, it
Like,
was.
the
It was.
reveal, like, I wish it was more of an emotional ending at the
Yeah.
end, because he doesn't really reflect on what you're saying.
No, he doesn't.
Which is
That's
like-
part of. Yeah, I think that's a big reason why it doesn't land the way it's supposed to.
Yeah, I think whatever they were trying to get out, I don't think they did properly, and that's why, again, it just feels like a Saw sequel. Which, like, there's nothing wrong with that. But it's just weird. It just struck me as weird going into it. Of like, all right, we got Chris Rock, Samuel Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
This is like all right, we're gonna make Saw a thing again. We're gonna make it relevant or something, and it's just like a 90-minute Saw sequel that just feels like it could have gone anywhere in the series. Like I could see this as Saw 5, you know,
Sure.
if it weren't for Chris Rock, his presence. Which, again, not bad. It was a fun movie.
Yeah.
Or I think it's fun for anybody who enjoys the Saw traps.
I think it's a solid Saw sequel. Yeah.
Yeah. I just there was nothing that struck me as significant in this movie, I guess.
There's nothing mind blowing. I liked the talent behind it. Like you've said a few times, it's a well made movie.
It is. And Chris Rock
is quite good at it.
I need to watch Fargo season 3, because
Season 4.
my biggest takeaway, season 4, my biggest takeaway is like, yeah, I need more Chris Rock doing, like, he's still funny. It's like the level of Chris Rock in, like, Bad Company, where he's like doing serious stuff, but he's
Well, because of his age now, like his jadedness feels more authentic.
yes.
So it's like you believe that he is this character because he's still funny. He's still Chris Rock, but he looks like a guy who's 50, who's like been in it for a long time.
Yeah, and they it's every Chris Rock movie, and I love Chris Rock movies. I love
Down to Earth.
Down to Earth? What's the one where he's president? Shit, that's
I
gonna-
was about to say the Robin Williams one.
No. And
Head
of
of
course,
State.
Bad
Head of
Company, Head of State, Bad Company. I always thought he made some really fun comedy movies, and they always kind of result in him, like, everything stopping so he can do stand-up.
It always
this.
happens once or twice. Yeah.
Yeah, they do it in this too a little bit.
Yeah.
But I thought they worked it in a little more naturally than other cases. It was done in a really cool, like that one of them going down into the
subway.
Just, and like the director, I think, has just done other Saw films. Like, it's not anybody. He worked on Saw 2, Saw 3.
Saw 3 is a bad one
4.
too.
Yeah. And so, like, in terms of, like, a director coming back and making this, and it just looks a little more of its time, more polished, it's definitely, you know, a better looking film than the other Saws.
Mm-hmm.
And it is well crafted. I just don't think the story, or like there's nothing clever, or really, like, the traps are kind of, you know, guy gets his fingers yanked off.
I mean, they're intense.
Person gets a time. They're intense, but all the Saw ones are intense. I don't know.
They're all intense. Yeah, it's the waterboarding with hot wax, or if you don't sever your spinal cord with this blade, I thought that's conceptually. I'm like, oh, that's grisly.
How all right? I had this question, and I'm not like a doctor, Tom.
Yeah.
How it doesn't seem easy to sever your spinal cord.
No, it sure doesn't. But
yeah, that one seems like unfair. And I know we're talking about Saw traps here, but like that one seemed genuinely like, I can't do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That became like a thing in the sequels.
I know one of the later, because the idea is Jigsaw's like disciples start doing unfair traps.
Yeah.
Like I know in like Saw 2, or maybe
it's in Saw 3. It's in Saw 3.
Wow.
When it starts.
That means I saw Saw 3. One of them solves the trap and it still kills them.
Yeah, well, that's actually in 4, I think. But it's when the sweatiest man in the universe takes over. He's like a crooked detective, He puts a guy in a pendulum, and the guy successfully rips his hand off or whatever it is he needs to do to get out of the trap, and he just leaves him in there, and the pendulum cuts him in half.
Right. Oh, I thought there was a trap that rips out your rib cage.
Yep.
And the person solves that, and it still does it.
That's in 3. Yeah, it's actually Dinah Meyer from Starship Troopers gets her rib cage ripped out.
That's funny. That also means I've seen 3, which is a bummer.
I'm not surprised you saw 3. Yeah.
Yeah. This is almost like the finger ripping one. It's like, man, I don't think this man has enough time. He like immediately is like, all right, I'll do it. He almost immediately starts tearing his fingers off.
Yeah,
the trap is,
he was hardcore.
Yeah, the trap is you have a bunch of things around your fingers. You need to get out of this bathtub or you'll be electrocuted.
It's slowly
so if you
filling,
bite down on a mechanism, it'll start ripping your fingers off. And he almost, like, Jigsaw's like barely finished talking, and he's like, I'll do it.
Yep.
Because he knows. This man knows.
Everybody knows who Jigsaw is in this universe.
Yeah.
So you wake up with that shit, I want to play a game. You're like, all right.
Yeah.
This is going to get wild.
You're like, all right, I'll do the thing you say. The tongue ripping out one is, if you had to be stuck in any of these traps, I think tongue ripping out would be the one I would prefer.
I think that would kill you. I mean, they would all probably kill you, but like
this is the problem.
That one definitely, like, you just die.
Yeah, and even if you don't die, you're in the subway. There's no one there to help you. But like, all right, well, you pick one. Tom, I want to play a game.
You want to play a game?
Yeah. Which one of these traps would you prefer to be in?
In this movie?
Yeah, in this movie.
Fuck.
Yeah, in all of the Saws, I would do the one I have to cut open someone else, I guess.
Oh, yeah, in all of the Saws, yeah, it'd be that. It'd be the one where it's like, I want to play a game. You're in a bear trap. It's going to rip your skull in half. Unless you cut the key out from this other, and I would already have the key out.
Yeah. Also, he doesn't, in that, I believe, he doesn't tell her that he's still alive.
Correct. He tells her I think he tells her he's dead at first.
Yeah, I'd be like, absolutely. Like, this is a fear factor stunt. Yes.
Yeah.
You already killed this man? Sure, I'll rip him open.
I guess the getting your tongue ripped out is the least debilitating one.
Yeah, and it's the most, I was going to say it's the most survivable in terms, and what I mean by that is how quickly you can get out of the trap.
Yeah, it's pretty instant, but like ripping your entire tongue out of your head, just
not
using
a fan.
The force of your body weight, I think that's going to kill you.
Not a fan. But like, compared to the others, it's the quickest way to either solve the trap or to be killed by the trap, frankly. Both are fast.
I mean, if you want to just be, that's true. Yeah. If you wanted to just like, oh, I'm not going to rip my tongue out because I'll probably just die. So I'm just going to stand here until the train comes. And yeah, when the train hits you, that's pretty instant.
Yeah, exactly. So that seems like the most, like, obviously all these traps
they all
designed to suck
because you're going to either get mutilated or die.
But that seems like the one I guess I would go with.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a shame.
It's just I think we're gonna go ahead and firmly state that waking up in a jigsaw trap is just not ideal, regardless of which trap it is.
Actually, sorry, I have to amend this. The Samuel Jackson one, getting my blood slowly taken out of me, or marionette turned into a marionette, so I get killed by the cops.
Get shot a bunch.
Yeah, because honestly, at least I think that's the funniest, right? Because
it is pretty funny. Like once they see what happened, they're gonna be like, oh.
Yeah, and they're going to be like, we can't get in trouble for this, right? Like, the dude was puppeted. Like, this isn't on us, right? Like, you're just like, it is definitely the funniest result. Because it's an elaborate marionette.
It sure is.
Yeah. I don't know. This movie's fine.
Yeah. I enjoyed it.
If you like the Saws, yeah, I did not enjoy it. I just was kind of disappointed by it. It's kind of lukewarm in the end. Because the mystery
the ending
isn't really there.
Is pretty. The ending falls kind of flat.
Yeah, the ending felt awkward. Like it felt like, again, there was issues with editing. I think there was issues with like pacing. And if you don't care for the traps, there's really,
Well, I think
here.
I think the writing and performances are strong enough. Definitely more the performances.
Absolutely,
because the characters felt natural. Like I believed that all this history really had occurred. Like I was interested in it. I was engaged in it, and that's more than like almost any Saw film for sure.
Yeah, Chris Rock's killing it. Meanwhile,
Yeah.
Samuel Jackson, like, you think on set, because they spent a lot of scenes together, Chris Rock is like, I really want this to work out. I'm Chris Rock. I don't get to do like drama that much. And Samuel is just probably like, yeah, man, it's a movie. I don't know.
Yeah.
I do so many of these.
The safe door to the evidence room in the police station was made by Vincent and Jules, if you noticed.
Oh, sneaky little shit.
And also when they go beat the bejesus out of the drug dealer to get some information out of him. When they're rolling up on the meth house to meet the guy, like he's like, all right, Chris Rock says, okay, it's time for some New Jack City shit.
Yeah.
Chris Rock is in New Jack City.
That's amazing. I didn't know that he was in New Jack City.
Mm-hmm.
That's really funny.
Yeah.
Oh, good. You think that was just like him on set, like about to do a scene?
I think it was
He's
just a
like,
fun
"Let's
joke.
do some New Jack-"
Because
I know.
they make a couple, like I pointed out, the Vincent and Jules, like they make some references that are kind of fun. So like,
Yeah.
there's probably more that I missed.
Yeah. I kind of wish this movie was more fun, to be honest.
I had a lot of fun, actually.
Really?
Yeah, I think our approach was slightly different to coming into the movie.
I was expecting something like, this is the second time they've quote unquote rejuvenated the series with what seems to just be another Saw movie.
Right, but a good one. So it's like this is what this series can be.
But I don't think it was that good. Like, I think Chris Rock made it good.
Mm-hmm.
But if you remove him from the movie, I think it was just a pretty standard Saw movie. Like,
I think it's way more thought out than probably any other Saw movie since the first one.
Sure. Yeah.
Like there's more intent behind it. It wasn't, I mean, a big problem with a lot of the Saw sequels is it was an annual thing for Lionsgate.
Right.
They were cranking them out in like 8 months.
Yeah.
So they had more, there was more time put into
Right.
this. There's bigger stars, more talent behind it. So this is like, like we said, it's a well-made movie. It's just
Yeah.
way more effort and care was put into this one. It's still a Saw movie.
Right. So that's, going back to Saw fans, like, we've been fantasizing about writing a Friday the 13th movie.
Yeah, which we should just do. Fuck it.
We should do. And like, what that would be, though, is like, I think people would feel the same way. It's just like, well, it's still just a Friday the 13th movie. It's
I
like,
don't
yeah,
know,
but
man.
this one we
We'd be going
we
pretty
have some
fucking
we have some
wild.
lofty goals. We
Yeah.
have some lofty goals. I'm just saying that, like, this as a for Saw fans, I can see why this has appeal. Like, for example, this has a huge audience rating on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah.
Because the people watching it are just Saw fans. No one's going into this movie not a Saw fan, because it's like, you wouldn't watch this movie otherwise.
I think you might be lured in by some of the people like Chris Rock, or
Right.
just like the trailers all looked pretty good.
Right. But like, if you know what Saw is, you know it's either for you or not. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it's like, I think there would be people who is like, absolutely not. I don't like Saw.
Yeah,
I don't
for
like
sure.
the core. So I just feel like most of the people reviewing this are Saw fans, and they're clearly enjoying it. They clearly made a successful Saw film.
Mm-hmm.
I just thought they were going to make something that would actually make Saw, that would make like me a Saw fan. You know what I mean? That would be bigger than the franchise. And that's sort of on me. Because ultimately, yeah, it's just a really good Saw sequel.
It's a strong Saw movie.
Yeah. Is it better? It's not better than the original, but I guess that's just because the original is the original.
Yeah, there's some stuff it does better than the original.
Yeah, I would say in terms of, and you could probably argue this about Final Destination, is that you really only need the one. You know what I mean? Where it's like, after that, they're just doing the same thing over and over.
Right.
But if you like what that thing is, then you keep watching them.
Yeah.
This is, you know what this is? This is that last Final Destination.
Yeah.
Because Final Destination became a series where it started getting weak, and then they made
that fourth one, the 3D one, is real bad.
Yeah, and then 5, they were like, you know what? Let's do something strong, and that has some of the best deaths in it.
It has the best one in it.
Yeah.
The gym accident, the gymnastics accident.
And not that it needed one. It had an actual clever ending, albeit one that like you can kind of see coming.
Sort of. I don't know if you can or not because they really don't let on.
Without spoiling anything too much, when I first watched it, I think actually like my sister pointed it out, or it might not have been me. Someone who's like, "Why aren't they using cell phones?" Someone like asked that question, and it all kind of unraveled when you asked that question. But yes, generally speaking, without spoiling it, it's a very clever. They did a very good job.
It's a good movie.
It's a good movie. Everybody check out Final Destination 5.
Yeah, I believe it. Yeah, what is it? It's not the Final Destination. That's the fourth one.
Yeah,
I don't know. Anyway, we'll figure it out.
You can skip that one.
Yeah, don't watch the 3D one that has Michael T. Williamson in it. It's bad.
Yeah. Real quick, rate all the Final Destinations.
2, 5, 1, 3, 4.
Wait, what order are we doing this? 2 is the best?
Yes.
5, 1, 3, 4. Oh my God, you might be right.
I know I'm right.
That's a real bold take, but this is tough because if we're just rating the beginning event,
we're not talking about Final Destination, Dave. We're talking about Spiral from the Book of Saw.
I don't want to. All right, I have no. Do you have anything?
No, I have nothing
rate
else.
The Saw films.
Oh, Saw and Spiral.
Okay. So real quick, final thought is I'm on the Wikipedia for Spiral. The first thing it says is, quote, the organ donor redirects here. For medical process, see organ donation. I just want to point that out because that's nonsense on the Wikipedia page.
Sure.
I don't know what that means.
I don't know what
why
that means either.
Organ donation redirects to the Spiral film, but okay.
Interesting.
Yeah. So we're done, right?
Yeah, we're all set. That's an episode.
All right, well, thanks for listening, everybody.
Yeah.
If you're interested, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. On there, you can find exclusive podcasts like Tom and Jeff Watch Batman and Fox Mulder is a Maniac, and also Star Trek, The Next Futurama. These are all things that you can check out. So do that.
All true. We also have a store, tpublic.com/store/gamefullyunemployed, where you can get t-shirts, masks, mugs, stickers, posters, all kinds of things. So check that out.
Yeah, and check out Final Destination 2, and then 5, and then 1, and then 3, and then 4.
Yep.
That order.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be fine. It'll make perfect sense.
Yeah. I think you're all set. You can watch Spiral and the original Saw, and then you're all set on Saw.
You're all set on Saw, yeah.
Yep.
Very true.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
All right. Bye.